Good morning everyone. Hope you all are safe and secure at home. I know that I am not familiar to you. I am Vinita Suresh, your new science teacher, and we will be dealing science for this whole year. So, we will start with the first chapter in our science textbook, that is crop production and management. So, before going into the topic, let me ask you one thing. On account of this COVID-19 pandemic, what was we facing the most important scarcity what we were facing? Yeah, it was the scarcity of vegetables. Why? This is because we are depending on other states like Andhra and Tamil Nadu for our vegetables. Actually, this crop production is not a big deal if we are willing to do that. Instead of searching for all these white collar jobs, why can't we do it, at least cultivate vegetables that is required for ourselves? Okay, this chapter will give you a few account or a fine idea about how to produce crops on your own. So, we are going to the topic. First, we will explain about what is crops. What do you mean by crops? A crop is the same type of plant that is cultivated in a particular area or in the same area. If a large number of plants are planted, it becomes a crops. And these crops can be generally classified into many types. We will discuss a few here. The first one is cereal crops. Cereal crops. I will give you some example, then you will become clear with what is cereals. So, examples are paddy, maize, etc. So, examples for cereal crops are paddy, maize, etc. Then comes pulse crops. Can you give some examples for pulse crops? Yes, peas, grams, etc. The next classification is fruit crops. Fruit crops. Can you name some fruits that we are familiar with? Apple, orange, etc. There are many other fruits, I am not mentioning them. We can say orange, apple, watermelon, everything comes under fruit. Then comes vegetable crops. Can you name some vegetables? Yes, potato, carrot, pumpkin, papaya, all these are vegetable crops. Now we are going to discuss about fiber crops. What are fibers? Fibers are something that is used for making fabric. We have studied about it in 7th standard also. Some commonly used fibers are cotton, jute, etc. So, these are comes under fiber crops, cotton, jute, etc. Next is oil crops. What are oil crops? The crops from which oil, that is refined oil or vegetable oils are extracted. All this comes under oil crops. Examples are groundnut, dates, etc. Then comes plantation crops. Plantation crops. Which are the plantation crops that we generally see in our area? Yes, coconut tree, rubber, etc. So, this is a general classification of crops, that is cereal crops, pulse crops, fruit crops, vegetable crops, fiber crops, oil crops and plantation crops. So, I am rubbing this. Hope you are clear with this. I repeat once again, cereal crops, pulse crops, fruit crops, vegetable crops, fiber crops, oil crops and plantation crops. Now, we will study about the classification of crops on the basis of the season they are cultivated. Based on the season, they are classified into 3 types. They are kharif crops, rabi crops and zaid crops. This is based on the season of cultivation. Based on the season, the crops are cultivated. They are classified into generally 3 types. They are kharif crops, rabi crops and zaid crops. Kharif crops, it is cultivated during the rainy season in India, that is from the period of June to September. This is the period of cultivation of kharif crops, that is it is cultivated during the rainy season, that is from June to September. Can you give some examples? Yes, paddy, maize, etc. Then comes rabi crops. The rabi crops are cultivated in the period from October to March. October to March. What is the peculiarity of this period, that is this period from October to March? It is the winter season. That is the winter season, especially in northern India. The winter season falls from the period of October to March and the rabi crops are cultivated during this period of time. Examples are mustard, wheat, etc. So, these are examples of rabi crops, that is October to March, and examples are mustard and wheat. Then comes zaid crops. It is generally cultivated in a period from March to June, that is during the summer season. And examples are cucumber, pumpkin, etc. So, these are the 3 classifications of crops based on the season of cultivation, that is kharif crops cultivated during the rainy season June to September, then rabi crops cultivated from October to March and zaid crops, that is cultivated from March to June. So, clear with this? Kharif crops, rabi crops and zaid crops. Now, before going to or starting agriculture, we have to follow some basic agricultural practices. That is, we have to follow some general practices and we will discuss each of them in detail now. So, we are going to discuss about basic agricultural practices. What is the first thing we have to do? What will happen if we put the seed into a dry land? We have studied in lower classes that in order for a seed to germinate, it needs all essential factors or favorable conditions. So, if we put the seed into a dry land, it will not germinate, right? So, what we have to do first is we have to prepare the soil. Prepare the soil or preparation of the soil is the first step or basic step in agricultural practice or crop production. This is the first step, that is we have to prepare the soil. After preparing the soil, what will we do? We will put the seeds, right? We have to sow the seeds. So, the second step is sowing. We are sowing the seeds. Then comes the third step. After preparing the soil and sowing, what will we do? Have you ever observed farmers doing something? They will add some manures and fertilizers, right? Why we are adding these manures and fertilizers? Yes, it is to replenish the soil, or we have to add the lost nutrients back to the soils. For that we add manures and fertilizers. So, the third step is adding manures and fertilizers. What we have to do after adding manures and fertilizers? We have to water the plants, right? We have to water the crops. That is, the fourth step is irrigation. Irrigation. What is irrigation? Irrigation is the process of watering the plants. After that, what we have to do? We have to protect it from weeds. Protecting from weeds. What are weeds? Weeds are unwanted plants that grow in between the crops. What will happen if these unwanted plants grow in between the crops? Yes, it will absorb the needed nutrients for the crops and the crops will get deprived of the nutrients. There will be lack of nutrients for our crops. So, we have to remove this unwanted plants, that is the unwanted plants are called weeds, and we have to remove these weeds for the proper growth of our crops. Then, what is the last step? We have done preparing the soil, sowing, adding manures, irrigation, and we are protecting from weeds also. We can see that the crops get matured and it gives us a good yield. After that, what we have to do? We have to harvest it. That is harvesting. It's the happiest moment of a farmer, right? Harvesting is the most happiest moment of a farmer's life. That is, he feel happy if he get a good yield. And the last step is storage. That is storage of the harvested food or harvested food items. We have to store it properly for the proper and future use. So, these are the 7 basic agricultural steps. First one is preparing the soil, then sowing the seeds, then adding manures and fertilizers. After that, irrigation, that is we have to provide water for the proper growth. Then protecting it from weeds, that is we have to remove the unwanted plants from the crops. Then harvesting, that is collecting the fruits or prepared vegetables. After that, we have to store it properly. Clear? Clear with the 7 basic agricultural steps? Preparing the soil, sowing, adding manures and fertilizers, irrigation, protecting from weeds, harvesting and storage. Clear? Now, we will go over preparation of the soil. We are going to discuss about the preparation of the soil in detail. I already told you that we have to prepare the soil properly for the proper growth or proper germination of the seeds. So, now we are going to study about the importance of preparing the soil and how we can prepare a soil. What is the importance of preparing the soil? I told it many times. What is the most important thing? We have to prepare the soil for the proper germination of the seeds. That is, when we prepare the soil, it increases the penetration. What do you mean by penetration? Penetration is the growing in of anything. That is, it helps in the penetration of roots. We know that roots are the most important part of a plant which helps in keeping it fixed firmly to the soil. So, for this the root has to go deep into the soil, and by loosening the soil or preparing the soil, these roots can go deep into the soil and it will be easy for the roots to absorb water and minerals from the soil. So, for this we have to prepare the soil, and this is one importance of preparing the soil, that it helps in the penetration of the roots. Next is loosen the soil for air passage. That is, when we prepare the soil or when we loosen the soil, it becomes loose and there will be proper air circulation deep into the soil, which is very essential for the roots to breathe in. So, it also helps to loosen the air passage or loosen the soil for passage of the air properly. Then, percolation. What do you mean by percolation? We have studied it in 7th standard. What is percolation? Percolation is the sweeping in of rainwater into the soil. That is, the sweeping in of water into the soil is called a percolation. And loosening the soil increases the rate of water percolation, or it increases the percolation rate of water, so that the water can reach deep into the soil and keeping the soil moist for the penetration of roots. Clear? And the last one is, it helps in the growth of microbes and earthworms. We have heard that we call earthworm as the farmer's friend. Why do we say so? Why do we say that earthworms are the farmer's friend? Because the earthworms grow in the upper layer of the soil and they help to keep the soil moist and loosened. So, earthworms are called the farmer's friend. So, for the growth of the earthworm, we have to prepare the soil, we have to loosen the soil so that the earthworms can grow there and keep the soil moist. Then, microbes. What are microbes? Microbes are all microorganisms that live in the upper layer of the soil, and these microbes helps in preparing humus. We have studied about humus in lower classes, right? What is humus? Humus is the dead and decaying organic matter, that is these microbes act upon the dead and decaying matter and convert them into humus, which is a very good fertilizer. So, for the growth of microbes and earthworm, we have to prepare the soil before starting cultivation. So, these are the importance of preparing the soil, that is penetration of roots, loosen the soil for air passage, increases the percolation rate of water and helps in the growth of microbes and earthworm. Now, we will discuss about the tools that are used for preparing the soil. Which are the commonly used tools? Have you seen in paddy fields a bullock riding something in there and loosening the soil? Yes, it is called plough. What is a plough? Plough is an instrument. It has a long rod with an iron shaft at one end, and this shaft is driven by ox to loosen the soil. Another device used is hoe. Hoe is also the same device. It is actually used for removing the weeds. At the same time, it can be also used for loosening the soil. It also has a long iron blade attached to a wooden shaft. Then cultivator. Cultivator. What is cultivator? Cultivator is an instrument. It is also an iron instrument. It is driven by tractors. It can be used for loosening the soil very easily. Nowadays, we use cultivators more in practice because all this are manual, while this is an automatic, or we can say that it is driven by machine. So, it is easy to use cultivators rather than using plough and hoe. So, are you clear with the preparation of the soil? Why do we prepare the soil? Because preparation of soil is very essential for the germination of the seeds. It helps to loosen the soil, which increases the penetration rate of roots and the penetration of air also, so that the root can breathe easily. Then it increases the percolation rate of water and also for the growth of microbes and earthworms. Then these are the generally used instruments for preparing the soil. They are plough, hoe and a cultivator. Nowadays we use cultivators in large scale because it can be driven by tractors. Clear? So, what are the things we studied today? We studied about the basic agricultural practices. Before that, we discussed about crops. What is crop? A crop is a large number of land cultivated in the same area. Then we discussed about the types of crops. There are cereal crops, then pulses, vegetables, fruits, oil crops, plantation crops and fiber crops. After that, we discussed about the crops based on the season they are cultivated. They are kharif crops, that is cultivated in the rainy season, then rabi crops cultivated in winter and zaid crops cultivated in summer. Then we discussed about the basic agricultural practices, their preparation of the soil, then sowing, adding manures and fertilizers, irrigation, protecting from weeds, then harvesting, and the last step is storage. Then we discussed about the preparation of the soil in detail. So, we are winding up today's class. So, when you come for the next class, you read the textbook properly, go through the textbook and draw the figure of a hoe, cultivator and a plough in your notebook. Thank you.